"You're not invited. Your presence would ruin everything," my family texted after I poured $95,000, 0 cents, into my sister's wedding. So I fired back, "Pay for it yourselves, parasites," deleted all 75 files, and now someone's desperate to stop me from uncovering their secrets. The email hit my inbox at 2:37 a.m., a digital dagger that sliced through the quiet of my Los Angeles apartment. I was awake, as I often was in those days, hunched over my laptop in the dim glow of my office, surrounded by the chaos of my life's work. 75 meticulously curated files for my sister Lauren's wedding, a project that had consumed my heart, soul, and $75,000, 0 cents of my own money. My phone buzzed on the desk, the notification a cruel beacon in the dark. The subject line was blank, but the sender's name, Lauren Carter, made my stomach lurch. I clicked, unprepared for the words that would unravel everything I'd built. "You're not invited to the wedding," the email began, cold and clinical, as if she were canceling a vendor contract. "It's better this way. Ethan's family feels your presence would complicate things. Please ensure all planning is finalized professionally. We've got the vendors covered, so there shouldn't be any issues." My hands shook so violently I dropped my phone, the screen cracking against the hardwood floor. My chest tightened, each breath a jagged fight against the vice clamping my lungs. I read the message again, then a third time, searching for a misunderstanding, a typo, anything to soften the betrayal. But the words were unyielding, a public execution of my place in my family, sent to a group thread that included my parents, Elizabeth and James, and Ethan's tech tycoon parents, Victoria and Charles Reed. They all knew. They all agreed, and they expected me to keep working, to polish their perfect day while I was cast out like a hired hand who'd overstayed her welcome. I collapsed onto the floor, the weight of $75,000, 0 cents in sunk costs, venue deposits, Michelin star catering, a Parisian floral designer, crushing me as much as the rejection. My vision blurred with tears, and a primal sob tore from my throat, echoing in the empty apartment. This wasn't just a wedding, it was my life's blood, poured into a dream I thought would finally earn me the love and respect I'd chased from my family since I was a child. Alex Carter, 36, owner of Carter Elite Events, the woman who turned Hollywood's wildest visions into reality. And yet, here I was, discarded by my own sister, my parents complicit, my worth reduced to a balance sheet they assumed I'd quietly settle. Growing up in Orange County's manicured wealth, the Carter family dynamic was a script written before I could read. Lauren, 7 years my junior, was the golden child, bathed in our parents' adoration from the moment she arrived. At 9, my birthday was a modest picnic in the backyard, sandwiches and a store-bought cake, while Lauren's second birthday was a spectacle, a petting zoo, a celebrity magician who'd performed for pop stars, and a custom cake shaped like a carousel. When I asked why my day felt so small, my mother's response was a refrain I'd hear for years. "Lauren's still little, Emily. She needs the extra magic." By middle school, I'd internalized my role as the responsible one, the one who didn't get to need anything. Lauren crashed Dad's vintage Mustang at 15, joyriding with friends, and somehow I was scolded for not keeping a closer eye on her. My 4 GPA, my leadership in every school club, my part-time jobs, they were expected, unremarkable. Lauren's Seagraft report cards were framed as creative spirit, her every whim a cause for celebration. The defining wound came at 18 when I earned a full scholarship to Parsons School of Design in New York, a dream that promised to launch my career in event design. 2 weeks before enrollment, a financial crisis hit. Dad's real estate investments tanked and my parents turned to me. "We hate to ask, Emily," my mother said, her eyes avoiding mine, "but Lauren's private school tuition is due. It's more important right now. I handed over my savings, my dream deferred, and watched Lauren breeze through her energized elite, her eyes wide with excitement. It's absolutely perfect, she squealed, thrusting her hand forward to show off the diamond. And Emily, you're the best. You have to plan this and make it the event of the year. I pushed down the familiar ache of being an afterthought and hugged her tightly. Of course, Lauren. I'd love to make your day unforgettable. Before I could set boundaries, Ethan burst in with his parents, Victoria and Charles Reed, their wealth radiating from Victoria's understated Cartier watch to Charles's casual mention of their Aspen chalet. The room shifted, their presence a subtle flex of power. When Charles asked about my business, his how entrepreneurial carried a whiff of condescension, as if my A-list clientele were quaint compared to his Silicon Valley empire. Lauren's voice changed, her Orange County drawl sharpening to match their polished cadence. Her job at a startup suddenly spun as a trailblazing media venture. By the time dessert arrived, she was performing a version of herself tailored to their approval, and I was already fading into the background. 2 weeks later, we met at a chic West Hollywood cafe, Lauren surrounded by a fortress of bridal magazines. I need your expertise, she said, her smile practiced. Vendors' timelines, the works. You're the best in the business. I was flattered, eager to bridge the gap between us. But her request ballooned. Could you do the design and planning yourself? At a sister discount, obviously. Her eyes sparkled with expectation, and when I hesitated, citing the risks of mixing family and business, her lip quivered, tears welling. I'm so overwhelmed, Emily. Ethan's parents expect perfection, and you're the only one I trust. Against my instincts, I agreed to design, coordinate, and partially fund the wedding at a 70% discount. $30,000 0 cents out of my pocket to start. Lauren hugged me, promising it would be our greatest sister project. I believed her, fool that I was. The first crisis hit a month later. Lauren called, sobbing, her voice barely coherent. The venue's pulling out. New management, some policy nonsense. It's ruined. I shifted into crisis mode, canceling client meetings to call in every favor I'd earned over a decade in the industry. I secured the Pacific Palisade estate, a $10 million 0 cents cliffside paradise with a $25,000 0 cents deposit from my business credit line. I hired a top-tier cinematography crew for $20,000, 0 cents, and a Michelin star chef for $30,000, 0 cents, tailoring every detail to Lauren's vision. But the victories came at a cost. During a venue scout, a balcony railing gave way, and I barely yanked a vendor back from a 50-foot drop, wrenching my arm in the process. The pain lingered, but I pushed through, believing this was my chance to rewrite our family story. Then came the second scare. Driving back from a late-night vendor meeting on the Pacific Coast Highway, my brakes failed, sending my car careening toward the guardrail. I swerved just in time, heart pounding, the mechanic later confirming the lines had been tampered with. Probably kids messing around, he said, but the unease stuck with me. I didn't tell Lauren. She was too busy demanding Parisian florals, adding $15,000 0 cents to the budget. I paid it, telling myself it was for her happiness, for our bond, for the family approval I'd never had. I'd built a digital masterpiece for her wedding, 75 files, from 3D venue renderings to a custom app for guest coordination. I designed a live stream website, VR guest previews, and real-time budget trackers. Weekends were spent touring venues, dress shopping on Rodeo Drive, moments that felt like sisterly connection. You're a genius, Em, Lauren said, tears in her eyes as she twirled in a beaded gown. No one gets me like you. I clung to those words, pouring my soul into her perfect day. But the cracks were forming. Ethan's parents, Victoria and Charles, were tech royalty, their wealth a quiet weapon. At a venue walkthrough, Victoria's "charming little business" comment cut deep, her smile sharp as she flipped through my portfolio. "We used Pinnacle Events for our gala," Charles added, name-dropping a firm that plans White House dinners. Lauren, once my defender, began echoing their elitism, dismissing my vendors for their pricier picks. When I mentioned the budget, she sighed. "It's my wedding, Emily. Not everything's about money." I swallowed the hurt and paid the extra $15,000. 0 cents, my savings dwindling. The third danger came at a floral warehouse. I was checking inventory when the walk-in freezer door slammed shut, the lock jammed. Hours passed, my breath visible, my fingers numb, until a worker heard my pounding. Faulty mechanism, they said, but the chill in my bones wasn't just from the cold. I started to wonder if these incidents were more than accidents, but I buried the thought, focusing on Lauren's demands. Then came the maid of honor betrayal. Lauren had promised me the role, calling me her best friend and sister. But at a champagne-soaked brunch in Beverly Hills, she announced Chloe, her influencer friend, as maid of honor. "It's less stress for you," she said, brushing off my hurt. "You're already doing so much." The demotion stung, but the $1,200 0 cents bridesmaid gowns she chose, implying I'd look cheap if I balked, cut deeper. I paid, feeling like a stranger in my own family. The fourth incident was nearly fatal. During the venue setup, a lighting rig crashed inches from me, sparks flying, the crew swearing it was secured minutes earlier. My heart raced. Sabotage wasn't a theory I could ignore anymore. I hired a private investigator, but with no proof, I kept working, finalizing Lauren's dream despite the growing dread. At a family dinner, my parents gushed over Lauren's exquisite taste, ignoring that I'd funded and designed every detail. When I mentioned the $12,000 0 cents rush fee for a new venue after another crisis, Lauren snapped. "Do you want a medal?" My parents sided with her, calling my concerns poor taste. I left early, tears streaming in my car, the weight of a lifetime of dismissal crushing me. The fifth scare came when my office caught fire. Half my files reduced to ash. The fire marshal called it electrical, but the timing, weeks before the wedding, felt too precise. My investigator found no evidence, but I backed up what remained of my work, paranoia now a constant companion. The final blow was Lauren's bachelorette weekend in Vegas. I wasn't invited, learning of it through Chloe's Instagram posts of custom team bride jackets, none with my name. "You're too intense," Lauren said when I confronted her. "It's better this way." I finalized her seating chart, paid vendors, and updated timelines, all while grappling with my erasure from her life. Then, the email. Uninvited, yet expected to finish her wedding, the audacity was staggering. I was hospitalized that night, a panic attack leaving me gasping, monitors beeping. Sarah, my best friend, stayed by my side, calling it psychological warfare. She was right. I'd spent $95,000, 0 cents, venue, catering, cinematography, florals, a $7,000, 0 cents bridal shower, and countless hours only to be discarded. With Sarah's support, I consulted an attorney. I had no legal obligation to continue. I documented every dollar, every contract, every email. Then, with a clarity I'd never felt, I sent my reply, "Fund your own wedding, parasites." I deleted all 75 files after backing them up, canceled my credit card authorizations, and blocked my family and the Reeds. The silence that followed was deafening, but it was mine. Lauren's wedding happened, a shadow of my vision, at Ethan's parents' country club. On that day, I was in Napa Valley, photographing vineyards, reclaiming my peace. Aunt Margaret and cousin Liam boycotted the event, their support a lifeline. Therapy helped me untangle my worth from my family's approval. My business survived, stronger with new boundaries. A year later, Lauren's marriage was crumbling under the Reed's scrutiny. My parents reached out, their tone tentative. But I'm not the Emily who bends anymore. I'll meet them, but on my terms, demanding accountability. The sabotage, the betrayal, the fire. Questions linger. Who wanted me out? What secrets did my files hold? The answers may come, but my worth doesn't depend on them. I've learned love shouldn't cost your soul, and I'm finally standing tall. The Napa Valley air was crisp, laced with the scent of grapevines and freedom, as I stood on the balcony of my rented cabin, camera in hand, capturing the golden hues of a sunset over rolling hills. It was Lauren's wedding day, a date I'd etched into my soul over months of planning, sacrificing $95,000, 0 cents, and countless sleepless nights to craft her dream. But instead of orchestrating her vows at the Starlight Chateau, I was here, 300 miles away, reclaiming my life. The email that uninvited me, Lauren's cold dismissal, my parents' complicity, the Reeds' elitist disdain, still burned in my chest, but the raw edge of betrayal was softening, replaced by a quiet resolve. I wasn't the Emily Carter who bent to fit their mold anymore. Yet, as I framed a shot of the vineyard, a nagging question lingered. Who had tried to break me? The tampered brakes, the freezer trap, the falling lighting rig, the office fire, those weren't accidents. Someone wanted me out, and I was determined to uncover why. The days following my bold email, "Fund your own wedding, parasites," had been a whirlwind of chaos and clarity. My phone, before I blocked them all, erupted with voicemails. Lauren's tear-soaked accusations, my father's icy threats, Victoria Reed's veiled promise of consequences. I saved each one, my attorney's advice echoing, "Document everything." Sarah, my rock, stayed with me through the worst, her fury at my family fueling my own. "This isn't just betrayal," she'd said, pacing my apartment, her auburn hair catching the light like a warning flare. "It's a calculated takedown, Emily. They used you, then discarded you when you weren't useful anymore." Her words hit hard, peeling back layers of denial I'd clung to for years. I'd built my life around proving my worth to a family that never saw me, but now, with the wreckage of Lauren's wedding behind me, I was ready to rebuild, on my terms. The first test came faster than I expected. 2 days after my Napa retreat, I returned to Los Angeles to find my office door ajar, the lock jimmied. My heart sank as I stepped inside, the scent of smoke still lingering from the fire that had destroyed half my files. But this was different. Drawers were ransacked, my laptop gone, and a single photograph, one I'd taken of Lauren in her wedding gown during a fitting, was pinned to my desk with a knife. The blade pierced her smiling face, a chilling message. I called my private investigator, Marcus, a gruff ex-cop with a knack for seeing through lies. "This is personal," he said, examining the scene, his eyes narrowing at the knife. "Someone's not just after your work, they're after you." He dusted for prints, but I already knew they'd find nothing. Whoever was behind this was careful, calculated, and closer than I wanted to admit. The break-in sent me spiraling, not into despair, but into action. I fortified my office with new locks and a state-of-the-art security system, my bank account groaning under the $5,000 0 cents cost. I hired a cybersecurity expert to recover my cloud backups, salvaging the 75 wedding files I'd deleted from my active systems. Each file, 3 renderings, vendor contracts, guest VR previews, was a testament to my skill, but also a reminder of my exploitation. As I sifted through them, I found something odd. An encrypted email buried in a vendor folder, sent from an anonymous account to Lauren, dated a month before the uninvitation. The subject line read, "Keep her in check." My tech expert cracked it open, revealing a single line, "Make sure she doesn't ruin everything." My pulse raced. Who sent this? Lauren? Victoria? Someone else entirely? The ambiguity gnawed at me, a puzzle piece that didn't fit but demanded answers. The next morning, I met Marcus at a dive bar in Santa Monica, the kind of place where no one asks questions. He slid a manila folder across the table, his voice low. I dug into the incidents. Your car, the freezer, the lighting rig, the fire. No hard proof, but patterns don't lie. The brake tampering matched a technique used by a hired muscle in corporate disputes. The freezer lock was deliberately jammed, not faulty. The lighting rig, bolts were loosened, not rusted. And the fire, traces of an accelerant the fire marshal missed. I gripped my coffee mug, the warmth grounding me as dread coiled in my gut. You're saying someone paid for this? I asked. Marcus nodded. Someone with money and a grudge. Could be the Reeds, protecting their image. Could be Lauren, panicking about her perfect day. Hell, could be someone in your industry, jealous of your rise. The possibilities were dizzying, each one a thread I needed to pull. The danger escalated that night. As I drove home, a black SUV trailed me, its headlights glaring in my rearview mirror. I took sharp turns through Hollywood's back streets, my heart pounding, but it stayed close. Relentless. On a whim, I pulled into a crowded gas station, the SUV speeding past, but not before I caught a glimpse of the driver. A man in a baseball cap, face obscured. I called Marcus, my voice shaking. Get a dash cam, he said. And don't go anywhere alone. Sleep eluded me that night, the photograph with the knife flashing in my mind. Was this about the wedding? Or something bigger? My business had made enemies, competitors who'd lost clients to me, vendors I'd blacklisted for shoddy work. But this felt personal, intimate, like a betrayal woven into my blood. Amid the chaos, my business faced its own reckoning. The $95,000 0 cents I'd sunk into Lauren's wedding had drained my reserves, forcing me to turn down 2 high-profile clients, a pop star's album launch, and a tech CEO's vow renewal. My team, loyal but stretched thin, was fraying under the pressure. We can't keep operating like this, Emily, my assistant Javier said, his eyes tired. You're killing yourself to prove a point. He was right, but the point wasn't just pride. It was survival. Carter Elite Events was my legacy, built from years of working 4 jobs, skipping meals, and clawing my way up in an industry that chewed up dreamers. I couldn't let it crumble, not after everything I'd sacrificed. I called an emergency meeting with my team, laying it all bare. The financial hit, the family betrayal, the mysterious threats. Their response floored me. We're with you, said Lena, my lead designer, her voice fierce. This isn't just your fight. They brainstormed cost-cutting measures, renegotiated vendor contracts, and pitched a new mentorship program to train aspiring planners, a revenue stream I hadn't considered. Their support was a lifeline, but it also highlighted what I'd lacked my entire life, a family that chose me. I vowed to protect them, to rebuild stronger, but the shadow of those incidents loomed. Who was behind them, and what did they want? The next twist came unexpectedly. Aunt Margaret, my mother's no-nonsense sister, called from San Diego. I didn't go to Lauren's wedding, she said, her voice sharp with indignation. What they did to you was unforgivable. I'm on your side, Emily. Her words were a balm, but what she said next sent chills down my spine. I overheard Victoria Reed at a charity gala last month, talking about neutralizing a problem before the wedding. She didn't name you, but the timing. It's suspicious. I thanked her, my mind racing. Victoria, with her tech empire and icy demeanor, had the resources to orchestrate sabotage. But why? To keep me from overshadowing Lauren's day? To protect some secret I'd stumbled too close to in my planning? I dove deeper, meeting my therapist, Dr. Rachel Cohen, twice a week to untangle the web of family trauma and new fears. You've been conditioned to prioritize others, she said, her eyes kind but unflinching. This sabotage, whether it's your family or someone else, is an extension of that pattern. They sense you're breaking free, and it threatens them. Her words sparked a fire in me, but also a question. Was I breaking free or walking into a trap? The encrypted email, the knife-pinned photo, the SUV, they suggested a conspiracy I couldn't yet name. The pressure mounted when a tabloid leaked details of Lauren's downsized wedding, painting it as a budget disaster after my exit. The article mentioned me by name, accusing me of abandoning my sister. Comments online were vicious, some calling me a jealous sibling, others speculating I'd sabotage the event for revenge. My phone buzzed with hate messages, one chillingly specific. "You'll pay for what you did." I forwarded it to Marcus, who traced it to a burner account, untraceable. The public shaming was a new wound, but it also fueled my resolve. I wasn't the villain here, and I wouldn't let them rewrite my story. Then came the sixth incident, the most brazen yet. At a client gala I was overseeing, a masked figure slipped into the venue's control room, cutting power to the entire event. Guests screamed as darkness fell, and in the chaos, someone grabbed my arm, whispering, "Stop digging, or you're done." Security tackled the figure, but they escaped, leaving only a burner phone with a single text. "Back off." Marcus analyzed it, confirming the phone was purchased with cash in Silicon Valley. Read territory. I was shaken, but the threat only sharpened my focus. I wasn't backing down. I channeled my fear into action, launching the mentorship program Lena had suggested. It was a hit, attracting young planners eager to learn from Carter Elite Events' reputation. The first session, held in a sleek downtown loft, was electric. 20 mentees, eyes wide, hanging on my every word. I shared my journey, not the betrayal, but the grit. 4 jobs, self-funded college, building an empire from nothing. Their applause was a reminder of who I was, not who my family tried to make me. But as I left the venue, a figure watched from across the street, their silhouette too familiar. I snapped a photo, zooming in later to see Lauren's college friend Chloe, now her maid of honor. Was she involved? The question haunted me. The emotional crescendo came at a follow-up meeting with Marcus. He'd uncovered a lead, a disgruntled former vendor, blacklisted by me years ago for botching a client's wedding, had been spotted near my office the night of the fire. He'd recently worked for the Reeds on a corporate event. "It's not proof," Marcus said, "but it's a thread. This guy's got motive, and the Reeds have the cash to pull strings." I felt the pieces clicking, but not fully. Lauren's encrypted email, Victoria's gala comment, Chloe's lurking presence. Was this a family conspiracy, a professional hit, or both? The uncertainty was maddening, but it drove me to keep pushing. Then, a breakthrough. My cybersecurity expert recovered a deleted file from my cloud, a contract draft I'd never seen, listing a shell company tied to the Reeds as a co-funder for Lauren's wedding. It was buried in my system, uploaded without my knowledge. Had I been a pawn in a larger financial scheme? The implications were staggering. Money laundering, tax evasion? Or something darker? I handed it to Marcus, who promised to dig deeper but warned, "This is big, Emily. Be ready for pushback." The pushback came swiftly. A cease and desist letter arrived from the Reeds' lawyer, accusing me of slandering their family by spreading rumors about the wedding. It demanded I halt all investigations or face a $10 million 0-cents lawsuit. My attorney laughed it off. No grounds, just intimidation. But the threat was a reminder of their power. I doubled down, hiring a forensic accountant to trace the shell company. Her initial findings were explosive. The company linked to offshore accounts, with transactions coinciding with my wedding payments. I wasn't just a discarded sister. I might have been a fall guy. The emotional dam broke one night as I sat with Sarah, wine glasses untouched, the weight of it all crashing down. "I gave them everything," I sobbed. And they made me the enemy. Sarah pulled me close, her voice steady. You're not the enemy. You're the hero they couldn't handle. Her words sparked something, a refusal to be silenced. I'd posted a cryptic Instagram story, a photo of my cracked phone screen from the night of the email, captioned, "Truth cuts deeper than betrayal." The response was overwhelming. DMs from industry peers, former clients, even strangers, offering support. A few hinted at rumors about the Reeds' shady dealings, urging me to keep digging. The climax came at a charity gala I was forced to attend for a client, knowing the Reeds would be there. I wore my best black gown, armor for the battle ahead. Victoria approached, her smile venomous. "You've caused quite a stir, Emily," she said, sipping champagne. "Pity you couldn't just play your part." I held her gaze, my voice steady. My part was never to be your pawn. Lauren was there too, avoiding my eyes, her face pale. As I walked away, I overheard her whisper to Chloe, "She's going to ruin everything." It was confirmation. Lauren wasn't just complicit. She was scared. Of what? The shell company? The sabotage? I left the gala with a fire in my chest, determined to uncover the truth. The next day, I met my parents at a neutral coffee shop in Santa Monica. My terms clear. 1 hour, no manipulation. They looked older, weary, my mother's eyes red-rimmed. "We didn't mean for this to happen," she said, her voice trembling. Lauren was under so much pressure from Ethan's family. My father added, "We just wanted her day to be perfect." I leaned forward, unflinching. And what about me? I gave $95,000, 0 cents, risked my life, built your daughter's dream. Where was my place? Their silence was answer enough. I laid out my conditions, acknowledged their role, commit to change or lose me forever. They promised to try, but I left unconvinced, the door to reconciliation ajar but not open. The chapter closed with a moment of triumph. My mentorship program landed a feature in Vogue Weddings, calling Carter Elite Events the future of luxury planning. The article praised my resilience, hinting at personal trials without detail. My inbox flooded with inquiries, my business reborn. I stood in my rebuilt office, new files organized, a dash cam on my desk. Marcus's number on speed dial. The threats hadn't stopped, but neither had I. Questions swirled. Lauren's role, the Reed's secrets, Chloe's involvement, but they no longer defined me. I was Emily Carter, not just a sister or a victim, but a woman who'd risen from betrayal, ready to write her own story. The truth was out there, and I'd find it, not for them, but for me.